Warning, this video contains spoilers. Be sure to complete Final Fantasy VII Remake and then come back to this video. You have been warned. The first installment in the Final Fantasy VII Remake series was nothing short of incredible. But because it was such a fantastic game, people are already hungry for the next game in the series. And again, thanks to Ultimania updates that are still being translated as we speak, and a shout out to Audrey, also known as Aitai Kimochi on Twitter, for doing all of these translations, we now know some of the thoughts that the developers are putting into Game 2, with one of the many interviews inside of the Ultimania containing some information, with the interviewer asking, quote, "For those who have played the remake, they must be very interested in the next installment. Are you already working on the next one? Hamaguchi, we are in the current stages of planning, so nothing is solid yet. Toriyama, the remake's first installment was centered in Midgar, which was the section I was responsible for in the original game, so I know it like the back of my hand. However, the next installments will take place in areas, to be honest, I've forgotten about, so I'll have to rewatch gameplay to revisit them. For example, after the characters leave Midgar, how exactly did they end up in Calm again?" He laughed. First of all, it's worth noting that this interview was recorded on March 19th. That being said, it's probably still relevant that they're currently in the planning stages, meaning that part 2 is still a decent ways away. It's also pretty funny that Toriyama doesn't quite remember what happened after the Midgar arc. The interview then continues with them being asked, quote, "How will the remake reimagine the world map from the original game? Hamaguchi, yes, that's also something we have to consider. For the first installment of the remake, the concept was to have the player experience the events within Midgar, and we would like to have the next game allow the player to experience the vast world of FF7. However, if we are to create a large world, we have to consider how exactly we can do so while telling a dramatic story. Considering that Toriyama and Hamaguchi were both the leads on Final Fantasy XIII, I'm not terribly surprised that their philosophy believes that a big open world and a very dramatic story are opposed from each other. While true, many open world games can lack a sense of urgency, you can still tell a very dramatic story in an open world game." At the end, they were asked, quote, "Lastly, please tell us what you're excited about for the next installment." Endo, "This is personally a goal of mine, but in the first installment, I was in charge primarily just the battle system. However, in the next game, I would like to be more involved with the game as a whole and contribute new game designs to the Final Fantasy series. Within this story-driven game, I would like to challenge myself into making better gameplay elements." Hamaguchi, "In the Final Fantasy VII Remake, we were able to use the latest technology to create the world of Midgar and its story, which I think has been properly conveyed to the fans. However, if we were to merely do the same thing for the next installment, then there might not be a sense of surprise or novelty. This might be difficult to do, but I would like to put something different within the next installment that will differentiate it from the first." Toriyama, "Even though the first installment took place only in Midgar, it still had such a large volume of content, and I'm a bit apprehensive on how we will create the next installment's large world. We were able to polish a Midgar using the latest technology, and who knows, I feel like in the next installment, we might be able to use a completely different technique in creating the world of FF7. No matter what shape it takes on, I hope everyone can look forward to the next installment." So the big focus is how they're going to realize the modernized world map. Modernizing Final Fantasy's world map has been a struggle ever since Final Fantasy IX. The closest that they've ever managed to come, in my opinion, to realizing the world map in an HD quality environment was probably Final Fantasy XV, which for the most part uses traditional open world elements. You were even able to do such things as fly your airship around. And for many people, I think the ideal situation would be a world map that is similar to Final Fantasy XV's in the sense of scale and the way that it dynamically loads, so that you can still have such things as vehicles, airships, and etc. The only problem that I foresee with that is that they'll have to create multiple open worlds back to back, with each game giving you a section of Gaia to explore. And this sort of becomes a problem when you realize just how expensive open world games are to develop, not to mention extremely time consuming. What I believe that they'll do is create large zones, similar to something like Dragon Quest XI, which, by the way, uses the exact same game engine as Final Fantasy VII Remake. These big zones give you the feeling that you're exploring an open world without it actually being one. They're more like large masses of land that you're able to traverse, and these are much easier to build and much more cost efficient than something like a true open world. However, that's just my take on it. With that said, Ultima Weapons, what do you want to see in the next game in the Final Fantasy VII Remake series? Subscribe, click the bell icon, and let me know in the comments below. And if you value the content on this channel, be sure to check out the Patreon for the Night Sky Prince, where thanks to awesome people like Tyler Cox, I'm able to keep making all of these Final Fantasy videos for you guys. So if that's something that you truly value, be sure to check the link in the description below. Shout out to Tyler and the rest of the Ultima community.